Okay, so over here I have my pot of wax and everything is all melted. It's nice and fluid. You can see, water-like. It's heated to the point where it's melted and fluid, but not boiling, which you could see movement if it was starting to do that, so you'd need to turn your temperature down. That can actually vary by your room temperature. Batik is actually controlled a lot by the temperature. If it's hot in the room, then the wax will be more fluid and won't cool off as quickly at room temperature. You can do this outside if you live in a hot climate like me, and it goes really fast. If it's cooler where you live, you might want to run a heater to help not only circulate air but keep it warm and keep your tools from cooling off as fast. So, got a tool, filled with wax. I don't know if you can see that from overhead, where it can just drip out. Use that to keep my wax. It's going to drip anyway, but it keeps it from dripping on my project. Okay, so I'm going to grab this one and just pick a starting point, and you hold the tool down to the fabric and just basically trace your design out. You don't have to even draw like I mentioned before. You could straight up just like grab one of these pens and start drawing freehand. You'll know your wax is starting to cool off. It'll seem like it's getting a little thicker. And this is something you'll have to learn by feel. But honestly, the thing that I would tell you to do is just go buy some cheap cotton fabric and practice on it. A handkerchief or bandana, just a strip of cheap white cotton. Make sure that whatever you do use has been pre-washed, whether you decide to soda ash first or afterwards. So right here you can see the wax was starting to like cool before it even started penetrating. So before it gets to that point, that's when it's not going to sink into the fabric and sink all the way through. See, right now that's sunk in, and that's connected to that wax paper that's behind it. If you don't use something behind it, it's going to get stuck to the back of whatever you're doing. If you're adding dye by painting thickened dye on, which is what I'm going to do here, it can get little crackles and bleed out. So you want to move it as less as possible once it's waxed. When you do this the way I'm doing it, you'll wax out the design, and then I'm going to go in and color it in with some thickened dye, and then I'm going to wax over the whole design and then dye the shirt. Another way to do designs, the more traditional way, is you would go by from the primary color to secondary colors to their secondary colors. Say like one of the most interesting ones that I saw was the sunflower. So they had little dots for a part of the shadows of the seeds, and then they did some yellow dye and waxed the petals, and then they did a darker yellow dye, and then they waxed some of the petals, and then they did some leaves added on, did a green dye over it, and then did a brown dye to color in all the seeds, and then the overall shirt was waxed, and they dyed it black and then boiled it out, and there's just multi-layered petals of the sunflower. This is kind of cheating in a way, because I'm going to color this in the exact colors that I want it. You can actually use thickened dyes and paint what you want, and then cover it with wax. You don't have to even do the outline, which is coloring book style is how I refer to it to my clients, is I need nice thick lines to draw this out. So again, got hot wax in the tool and I'm following the lines. Now this is the old pen, and it actually has a little bend in the tip, little tube, and so it cools off faster. If you can see that, where it comes out. These little copper ones are kind of referred to on a lot of websites as a better tool. And they are in the fact that they heat up really fast because it's thin copper, but then they also cool off really fast. I like the brass ones the best because it's got a big pot and it keeps it hot because the metal's thicker. My only issue is that when you have one that you haven't used a lot yet, this just kind of comes loose from it, and then you have to drill a hole, which is kind of a pain. But I forgot where I was. So rotating out tools keeps these hot, so you don't have to wait as long for the design to come out. So and you see how I'm coloring in the cloud? That's kind of how you color it in after you've got your color areas done. Which I'm going to show you that too. With the thickened dye. So how to do that. Maybe about time to retire this one. It doesn't want to keep the wax going. Might try to bend out that tip. Sometimes you can, sometimes you break them off. Because they're just like welded onto the end. I like that one because it's short and it comes out fast. So, once this is all done, and you can make it as complicated as you want. You can draw some stuff on there and then color it in and wax some different stuff on top of it and color it in. Just, you know, experiment. That's how I figured out most stuff, because I was doing all this before the internet, and I really love that now I can share this with whoever wants to watch this, and they might get a better understanding of how to do this art. Because if we don't teach how to do the things we love, those things will die out.